Okay, lovely people, as promised, we are on to chapter 6, and this is the lecture that I'm going to record from my beautiful closet that no one has come to see me in yet. Isn't it beautiful, right? I'm just saying. Come by, say hi. I get lonely. Just saying. But we are on to chapter 6, the lecture that we were going to cover this week. And due to my phone coming on the wall and COVID testing, we didn't get to. So anywho, I'm going to cover it as quickly as I can, so this lecture is not hopefully boring, since I'm sitting in my freaking office. I look like a bat. Check that out. It's greatness. So, but anyway, let's do this thing. So, you all took your test over chapters 1 through 4. Don't forget, we're skipping chapter 5 completely. And, we're on to chapter 6. So you read over, unfortunately, chapter 4 on your own, but you learned about the different types of religious groups that came over for personal reasons. You saw the separatists, you saw the pilgrims, aka separatists, but became known as pilgrims. You saw the Quakers, you saw the Puritans who founded Massachusetts, and you read over colonial life, which is really sad that we couldn't cover that in class. It's one of my favorite aspects because life was so dang different, as you saw, right? You had the Enlightenment, all that good stuff. All that stuff is incredibly important. And you saw the evolution of how we went from just being British colonists, right? British colonists who came over to, to the New World, and we founded these 13 colonies, but we got to live by, the British wasn't paying attention to us. Britain was literally, it was like a kid who's playing, like one of those like plastic houses in the backyard, and you got like 6-7-year-olds out there in the backyard pretending to be grown up playing house, and parents looking out the kitchen window going, aren't they cute? Look at them go. Oh my gosh, they're acting like they're such adults. That's so cute, right? That is the British's attitude towards us. We were legitimately all left alone for over 100 years. And when you have no one telling you what to do, telling you when to go to bed, telling you what rules to follow, telling you what was expected of you, and you could do what you want, when you want, how you wanted, for over 100 years, saying, you develop an independent mentality, right? It's like a parent who stops parenting their child at like 4, right? And then the child, from the time of 4 years old, 3 years old, all the way up until they're adults, make their own decisions. And only as adults, like when your child hits 18, 19 and they're making all sorts of crazy, they're making up all the rules for their own life, and all of a sudden you decide, uh-oh, my kid's getting a little rebellious. I should probably step in and remind them of who's in charge here, whose roof they live under, who's the boss, and considering they've been independent for or living independently for 12, 14, 16 years, they're like, screw freaking you. And you go, uh-oh, I might have a problem. That is exactly what happened with the British colonies. They were left alone, as you saw in chapter 4, for over 100 years, and they were allowed to make their own choices, make their own decisions, live by their own laws, do what they wanted, when they wanted, how they wanted, why they wanted. And Britain was across the sea going, aren't they cute? Look at them playing house over there. That's adorable, right? Not to mention on the flip side, Britain did have bigger fish to fry. Like we had this war going on with France that kind of is like, do I pay attention to my 4-year-old child over here? They're so cute. Or do I pay attention to a country who might just completely, impose us and overthrow us? Remember, we talked about that was a big issue. So, hence where chapter 6 picks up. That was all rehashed since you covered chapter 4 on your own. Chapter 6, however, picks up with one of the reasons that we were allowed to be independent, because Britain felt like they had bigger fish to fry. And it starts, as you will see, with the French and Indian Wars. So when you look at the PowerPoint posted for you, there were 4 wars rolled together that accumulated over 74 years. Just like my maths caps. Go Mavs. 2011 champions. Just saying. But so 74 years, there were 4 wars. You know, war and peace, etc., etc. But it will lead to the permanent divide between colonists and mother country. I'm gonna get my little prop here I usually use in class. I try to make this fun for you. If I'm gonna do it from my freaking closet, might as well try to make it fun, right? So, it starts with, again, we'll start with the French Indian Wars. Which, oh, I don't have a freaking, okay. So gonna do this for you. Ready? This is gonna be the best drawing you've ever seen in your life. Ready? So, I'm gonna draw. You can't see it yet. I'm working on it. We have the 13 colonies. We've got France. Oh, I need different colors. This'll work. Alright. Bear with me 2 seconds. I'm drawing. It looks beautiful. No, it doesn't. You'll get the point here in just a minute. Bear with me. Hope everybody had a happy, safe Labor Day, etc., etc. Okay. This is beautiful. I'm just saying. So, we have, again, nailed it, North America, right? So, the British, obviously, are all established in the Canadian region. We have the 13 colonies, right? But then there's all this land between the 13 colonies and the Mississippi River. Very geographically accurate, right? But you have all this land. Actually, Spain's done here. Hang on. You have all this land. All this land. Right? There for the taking. Got the 13 colonies. We have Spain down here, obviously, as we know. We've got, but all of this is there for the taking, all the way right now to the Mississippi River, right? And it was, again, there for the taking. Spain is all down here, as we know, South America, moving they're up into here right now. They're not interested in going up. They're done. They're fine. France, however, would love to migrate down and claim this in the name of France. But what problem does that breed for us? We would be locked in, right? If France controls this, we're stuck. We're screwed. What we've got is what we've got, right? So obviously Britain would love to come over and claim it in the name of Britain, claim it in the name of their country. So all 4 wars, I made one circle too big, you get the point. All 4 wars are fought over this territory right here. The winner between France and Britain getting to claim all the land west of the Mississippi that's available in the mother country. So the first war that kicks it off is King William's War. Now it's kind of like when we had that first day of class and we hit all the Indian genres. All of them had their own significant importances, things that made them unique and individual. Same thing here. So I will tell you the big aspect of, you'll read over a little of those on your own in the PowerPoint, but the truly important aspects, this is why it pays to pay attention to the lectures and watch the lectures, because this is a great test question. What makes King William's War, not only is it the first is always important, right? But it is where the Indians will pick a side. Because we have, once again, my beautiful drawing. Y'all are so sad you didn't get to see it in class, right? France is up here, orange. Colonists are green. But do the colonists know anything about the Canadian area? No. Do the French know anything about the northern 13 colonies? No. Who knows everything about every square mile? The Indians, right? And what a viable resource / weapon to have on your side when you go into another country's territory in war and attack in another country's territory, right? So, both sides vocated greatly trying to, obviously paying, by the way, offering money, but getting the Native Americans on their side. I think it's personally hilarious that the British thought they had a chance in hell, right? Because look at what the French did. What we talked about in class. From the day the French came over, they had a relationship with, they built a relationship with, they courted, they dated, they intermarried, they became a family. What did we do from 1607 on? Screw, except for William Penn, screw them over time after time after time. But the British thought they could pay enough that they could literally get the Indians to join their side of this thing. Now, and don't get me wrong, probably 7 to 10% of the Indians did side with the colonists. 93 to 90% sided, obviously, with the French, right? So that was the big aspect and the big kicker of the First War, King William's War, is that the Indians, it kicked this whole thing off. All 4 wars are, by the way, fought over the same territory. Nothing technically really changes. But a side was picked. And the Indians primarily sided with the French. So we're going to have several years, the King William's War is also known as the 7 Years' War. You'll never guess how long it lasts for. I just said 7. I meant 9. King William's War is known as the 9 Years' War, excuse me. You'll never guess how long it lasted for. 7, right? No, 9. But then, the British, we do have a, ceasefire. We do have negotiations begin. There's about 4 years of peace. Negotiations fall apart. We go back to war for a second time. And the second, which is Queen Anne's War, right? Now, again, it's all, by the way, I need more marker. Oh, I have a yellow. Here we go. So the kicker is, it's important to note that all 4 wars are basic. Now, the French will be able to make their way down into our colonies, which is kind of sad. They'll make it all the way through New York. But all 4 wars are kind of fought up in this location. Kind of eastern Canada, down into the colonies, pretty much up north, and the best war ever for them, King George's War. They'll make it all the way to New York. But so it's all fought in this area. Here's the kicker. For Britain, who is doing the fighting? Think about it. The colonists. Who lives here? This war is going on here. There's no British army there. There's no British military of any type. There is no security. This is fought by the colonists. Fought for king and country. They were more than happy, just like any military is or usually is and normally is. More than happy when called for to step up for king and country. But you can remember who also lives here, guys. This is the areas that were founded for religious reasons, primarily. Are they trained soldiers? Do they have any experience? Are they armed with weapons? No. Any other question? No, right? So, it's basically farmers with pitchforks, willing to fight for king and country, going up against the mightiest freaking, at the time, military empire on the globe. How do you think that's going to go? For 8 years, this many. 8 years, the colonists do their best. They do everything they can possibly do. They give it their all. But between not only the British Army, but the Indians, mostly, who are a viable secret weapon because they fight with this type of warfare known as guerrilla warfare. Ambush. We saw that a lot during Vietnam. History repeats itself, guys. Ambush attacks. Hiding behind bushes and trees, and things that are very foreign to European technique and what we're used to. The colonists are just up against a dunk duck, and for 8 years they beg and they beg and they beg and they plead and they plead and they plead for the British Army to come over, like the actual military to come over and help. And the army finally comes over, like 8.5, 9 years in. Now at that point, again, within a year and a half, there's another ceasefire. We're going to talk. But the big aspect of Queen Anne's War, which is the second, is for the first time ever in colonial history, there's a rip and they divide between mother country and the colonists. Because, again, nothing gets settled. We are going to go back to war. Peace talks go on for a good amount of time at this point. But nothing has been settled. And so the kicker comes from the British will blame the colonists for not taking it took all this time. It took 11 years. And it's financially costly. And the issue was put on the colonists. This is your fault. The fact that this thing is still going on, the fact we're going to do this again for another time, the fact that this isn't over, you didn't fight hard enough. You didn't do enough. You didn't do what your country needed. You're at fault here. Shame on you. On the flip side, the colonists are like, are you flippin' kidding? If I could cuss, I would. Are you flippin' kidding? I'm sorry. Where were you? Where were you for only 8 years, right? We did everything we could. You did not equip us. You did not train us. We were farmers with pitchforks. We stood and fought when you needed it and there was no one else here to. I'm sorry, and you're going to put the blame on this on us when we did everything we possibly could for king and country? Screw you. Where were you? And you see the bitterness born. You see the divide start. This is going to lead, by the time it's ripped all the way apart, it's going to lead us to revolution. But this is the tear and the divide between mother country and the colonies. We'll go on. Go on. So now we have about 33, 34 years of peace. Tensions and things subside. Technically, things kind of get back to a little bit normal, but the bitterness is born. Bitterness never goes away. And there's 33, 34 years of peace before we see the next war, which is King George's War. And this is where, so glad I have this blank legal page. I'm going to read you off. So we have, brilliant, oh, this pen is dying. What the hell? That's okay anyway. In North America, we've got, okay, I need my markers again. Where are my markers? Oh! This thing rocks. Okay. Welcome to my office. Alright, so we have different colors. Canada here, the colonists here, Spain. It's not quite proportionate. You get the freaking idea. Y'all are smart cookies, right? With, where's my blue? Everybody fighting, technically, over this piece of property, right? So the French, looking to go back for a third time, they say, there's us, plus the Indians, versus the colonists. They did pretty dang well in Queen Anne's War. If the British Army hadn't come over, this would have been a done duck, and the French would have won. But so there's 3 out of 4 people groups already involved in these wars, right? Yet there's another country down here that is not involved yet, which is Spain. Spain defeated the freaking Aztecs, right? Spain is a mighty freaking military beast. If they can get the Indians and the Spanish on their side of this thing, they would absolutely be in a, they would absolutely be in a position where they would be unbeatable, impenetrable. The colonists with the farmers with pitchforks versus the mightiest freaking, the French army, the Spanish army, and the Indians. Sorry, I'm almost out of coffee. I was looking for a mug. Anyway, that is a win-win, win-win-win, right? So the goal is to convince the Spanish to join this thing on their side. Oh, my chair is messing up. There we go. Sorry. Anyway, the goal is to convince the Spanish to join. Now the Spanish say, I mean, they haven't been interested. They know what's been going on. They've been watching from afar, but they've never been interested, right? So the French approach them, and they say, we're not saying yes, we're not saying no, we're not quite sure we actually want to get into this thing. We'll consider it. But and don't forget by this point too, Spain founded Louisiana. The French have overtaken it. The French are come down from the Canadian area. They've come down the Mississippi. They have taken over the area of Louisiana. So it's not like the French were communicating with the Spanish from freaking Canada. They were communicating with the Spanish, who were still in Texas, from Louisiana. Much, much closer, right? And again, the Spanish say, we're not saying yes, we're not saying no. We'll think about it. Well, while they're thinking about it, there may or may not be a war that occurs called the War of Jenkins' Ear. And this is the only event that the Spanish are involved with in the entire process. Long story short, it's occurred in the southern portion of the 13 colonies. The French, the Spanish, and the British. It's called the War of Jenkins' Ear. And there was this incident where Colonel Jenkins, who was a British commander, technically colonist, in this battle, where the Spanish were involved, had his ear completely lopped off the side of his head. Lopped off. There was a lot of death, there was a lot of destruction, there was a lot of fatalities. But even though his ear was completely lopped off, Jenkins was allowed to live. Because the French had a mission for him. Now, keep in mind, at this point, a voyage across the Pacific could take anywhere from 2 to 3 months, on average. Closer to 3, usually. So this man, they said, we're not gonna kill you because we're gonna have you be our messenger, right? So poor Jenkins just had his ear cut off, keep in mind. Think about your equilibrium, right? Oh my dear freaking Lord. Can you imagine sailing across the ocean for 2 or 3 months with one ear? And I'm like, bless his little heart. Head all bandaged up. But he gets back to England, and he's supposed to go approach King George, who is the current king of England, and present a gift. So Colonel Jenkins goes to the palace of King George, goes before his king, kneels before his king, head still all bandaged, and presents this box. And when King George opens up the lid of the box, what's in it? Jenkins' ear. It was France's way of redeclaring war on Britain, sending a specific message. Poor Jenkins. That would be like one of us going before whoever. Yeah, Bush, Clinton, Obama, Trump, Biden. Kneeling down before a president and handing over a gift, which are body parts inside. I mean, holy freaking crap, right? Did not go over well, obviously. George is irate. He says, you want war, go back to war. You freaking got it. Long story short, back to where we go. Now, King George's war is the shortest of all 4. It's only 4 years long. But the important aspect of it is if there was a specific significance of King George's war, it's the fact that it's the deadliest. Once again, let me get my pen and paper over here. I'm going to redraw you my map. I'm so glad I have so many pieces of paper available right now. I didn't even think about that before I started this lecture. Here we go. And I'm just going to not color this time. Oh, look at that pen start writing again. How rare is that? Alright, so this is the war where the French... So, by the way, as soon as war re-begins in King George's War, the Spanish say, you know what, we've thought, okay, so we've moved it over, we've thought about it, we have no problem with Britain, we don't want to start a war, we don't want to be a part of something that has nothing to do with us, we're out, right? So Spain was only involved for that one skirmish before they go, I think we're out, good luck to you. So it's just back to French, Indian, and British. And this is the war, technically, where, even though it's just back to normal, French and Indian, they made it the furthest down. This is not geographically correct, but that's to say they made it all the way, not only all the way to New York, they basically burned New York, right? And it was the deadliest. Once again, there's no British military, there's nobody around. There's nobody that can be a saving grace for the colonists. It's colonists versus Indian and French army. That doesn't mean we didn't give it our all. This chair's driving me crazy. Sorry. It's not very comfortable from this position. I think I got it screwed up. Anyway. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So, this is the deadliest. More colonists died during the King George's War than than all the other wars combined. Williams, Anne's, the 7 Years' War we're fixing to talk about. Altogether equal, what? 7, 9, 16, 8, 24 years. More colonists die in this one 4-year war than the other 4 altogether. It was said like a lot of the towns like in colonies like Massachusetts lost up to 8 to 10% of their male population alone, smaller colonies. And don't forget, this is a day and age where streets were not paved, right? Streets were man-made and they were dirt. And it was so much blood was spilled in the streets of these smaller colonies that the streets just became like a muddy goo. They became a muddy goo. You walk out of your house into the street and you would just sink into this basically blood pit. Not mud pit, but blood pit. Suction pull your shoes off. It took, it's up north. It was humid. It took weeks to dry. There was so much of it. This scent of stale death lingered in the air for weeks. Not to mention that the sons, the fathers, the brothers, the cousins, the nephews, the uncles. I mean, the colonies like Massachusetts or New Jersey or New Hampshire lost 8 to 10% of their male population. It tells you how many people died. And once again, it only lasts 4 years, thank God, before there's peace. But once again, we're blamed for not having won the war. And the drift between the country and colonists deepens. Now, this has got to come to an end at some point, right? This has got to come to an end at some point. And thankfully it does with the last one. Now, this can get a little bit confusing because its official name is the 7 Years' War. It's also known as the French and Indian War, which I think can be confusing / misleading, considering the entire thing of 4 wars combined is the French and Indian Wars. So to have the French and Indian War individually inside the French and Indian Wars can get a little bit misleading. So if I were to ever ask you, like, on an exam, I'm going to refer to it as the 7 Years' War, which was its legal name. We nicknamed it like we nickname everything else, right? So the French Indian War, aka 7 Years' War, will obviously bring this to an end. Between all the freaking, all the wars will come to an end between France and England. With somebody finally coming out the damn victor, right? Think about, up until this point, who has been the favorite? Who has dominated? If you say Britain, I'm going to laugh. Obviously, it's been France, right? Who's going to win the whole enchilada and win this thing for everybody? Britain. It's like a boxer who has lost 9 rounds in a row. And then, he's out. He's done. It's almost laughable, right? But in that 10th round, he stands up and delivers this, shocking knockout punch and wins the whole thing. That is Britain. Britain has lost the first 3 badly. But not only will Britain win the 4th, Britain will be the deciding victor. And all the land west to the Mississippi, to this point, will go to Britain, right? Canada will remain. I'm trying to be geographically correct here. Up here, right? Now, when Britain comes out the victor, by the way, There's a treaty that ends all 4 wars. I am not expecting you to know the treaties of the other 3 because you'll never remember them again. You'll never hear of them again. Very importantly, and you will see it in your PowerPoint, this is a wonderful test question. The treaty that ended the entire enchilada, the whole 4-war thing between these countries that, was a deciding factor, was the first Treaty of Paris. I don't even know if you can read that. Can you read that? Treaty of Paris ends the feud. The British get all the land west of the Mississippi and increases their dominance as the #1 leading land-holding country in North America. Now Spain goes, oh, blank, right? Because they were involved in the, War of Dingens here. Spain, I definitely need a different color for Spain. Spain, right now, still owns the colony of Florida, right? Isn't that pretty? It's gorgeous. That's Florida. So they say, hey, once we win and we're becoming this bigger and bigger powerhouse, it's like, hey, remember that War of Dingens thing we were involved with? Remember that guy that got his ear lopped off? We're sorry about that. Our bad. If you choose to forgive us, tell you what. Look, we don't want any trouble. We don't want any fight with you. We don't have no problem, no beef with you. Sorry we even thought about it. Here's the deal. If you not decide to leave us alone, like bygones be bygones, we will give you Florida. This is how we get Florida, y'all. This is when Florida was added onto the 13 colonies. But also, by this point, Spain has come to, France, has come to the conclusion that they're no longer interested in southern North America, right? They're quite happy and healthy up in the Canadian area. Right now, they own Louisiana, right? This is so geographically correct. Well, as a thank you for their service, I know it's going to be a little bit confusing, maybe. For getting involved in this thing on their side for a moment, France will give Florida back to Spain. So Spain loses Louisiana, I'm sorry. They give Louisiana. France loses Florida. Florida becomes a part of the British colonies. Louisiana, that had been controlled by the French, is given back to Spain. There's a lot of attributes of it. But it's all included, Treaty of Paris. The first ever, which, by the way, there have been 4 Treaty of Parises. 13 Wars, American Revolution, I almost said Mexican, Spanish-American War, and World War I. World War II, excuse me. World War I is Versailles. Treaty of Paris ended, so French Wars, Revolution, Spanish-American War, World War II. You would think we would get more creative with the names after a while, right? I'm just saying. But it's done. We're good. It's all copacetic at this point, right? Nope. Because even though the British Army was non-existent throughout this whole thing, that does not mean that Britain wasn't still picking up the bill. And if we were in class, this is when I would ask you about it, since we're not in class. Long story short, it's just important to note that just because the British Army did not come over and wasn't everywhere does not mean that it wasn't financially draining. And I would ask you for the reasons why. There's a lot of them. You're actually going to be reading over that section in your book for your next exam. But it's so important to note that this war for the mother country of Britain was insanely expensive. And the mother country is drowning in war debt. On the flip side, over in the colonies, they're blanking sticking rich, people. They are as rich can freaking be. Because for the last 100+ years, they have been setting their own taxes. They have been setting their own wages. They have been doing their own laws. They have their own, even though they're still the British colonies, they have their own individual relationships with different foreign countries, importing and exporting. The colonies are rolling in the dang dough. Well, the mother country is drowning. And considering according to the mother country, remember, this is all the colonists' fault for putting them through this and not winning it until now, it falls on the shoulders of the colonists to pay off this war debt, right? Because it's their fault that it went on this long and other countries and so in debt. Plus, they're, mother country looks over and goes, what in the holy hell is going on with their finances, right? So when the mother country comes to the colonists and say, guess what? This is your fault. You're going to pay off our war debt. It's all on you. Deal with it. To the colonists, how do you think that's going to go? Screw freaking you. Right? Screw you. The other country's like, I'm sorry. Or the colonists are like, I'm sorry. We're the ones that did all the fighting. We're the ones that have done the only, they felt at the time, sacrifice. We're the only ones, like, where were you for the majority of this? You left us high and dry. We fought for king and country. We did the best we could. We're the ones that lost everything. Loved ones, friends, family. It happened, it's our homes and towns and our colonies that have been destroyed. There's been no help or sympathy for you, according to us. And now you think we're going to pay off this stupid war debt? Who the hell do you think you are? And this is when we kind of hit that point we started with in the beginning of the lecture, where you have the child that you've left alone since 4, and now he's like 18, 21, whatever, and you start trying to be the parent, be the boss. You start trying to tell them what to do, how to think, remind them that you're in charge when you haven't been in charge for their entire life. Well, you're going to get a rebellious response. I'm sorry, you think you're going to come in now and be my parent? Blank you. And it was that, and especially if you try, if you live under my roof, you're going to play by my rules, you're grounded. But, psst, blank you, right? It's kind of the same relationship between the mother country and the colonies. The mother country walked in, tried to all of a sudden be a parent, be the lawmaker, be the rule maker, put them under their thumb, remind them of where they stood. And the colonists were like, screw you. And the mother country, for the first time in a long time, went from, aren't they cute playing house? Oh my God, they're adorable, to, uh-oh. We officially have a problem. Right? Colonists have every right to be independent. Not saying they don't, but the problem has been born. This terror and the divide has been born. And is there going to be any, tape that I can use to try and, tape this thing back together, per se, and make it, Nope. It's permanently damaged. And we're on the road to the revolution. Right? I love this lecture. I'm so excited to get to do this lecture in class. Anyway, but hold that thought. It's my other boss. Anywho, this leads to 12 years of crap. Oh my God, I'll do that later. 12, actually I'll do it right now. I can talk and check. Sorry, work schedule. 12 years of crap that the colonists will go through from 1763 to... I can't talk and text. Hope everyone had a great weekend. So sorry y'all didn't get to sleep in. That's weird. Alright. Anyway, weird work schedule. Sorry. Okay, so 12 years of crap. 1763 to 1775. 12 years of crap that the mother country will put the British through. And it takes 12 years of hell to get to the point of independence. 12 years is a long time, people, right? And if I was in class, I would ask you guys why. If we're fixing to go through absolute hell basically every single day for 12 years, by the way, why did it take so long? Why did we go through not 4 years, 6 years, 8 years? Why did we go through 12 years? Why did it take that long? It's the same equivalent, and if I was in class, I would come back to the same story. Same equivalent of go back to, I don't know, 5 years ago when Trump was running for president. Love him or hate him, everyone's got their own opinion, but when he was running, we all remember the aspect of all these celebrities, all these liberal celebrities out in Hollywood, who were swearing up and down that if Trump got elected president, they were out, right? They were going to Canada. They were done. They would not belong to a country where Donald Trump was a president. And they were openly, we're talking on every damn friggin' news channel, blatantly saying this, right? Well, Trump, shockingly, right, got elected. How many of them actually left this country and went to Canada? Not one, right? Zero. Pamela Anderson left the country, that's a whole different story. But nobody. No, I thought that was kind of stupid myself. I'm like, well, that's you're just pinning yourself into a corner here because you're not going to back up what you preach, but that's a different story. It's the same thing, though. Oh, you had all these friggin' British talking for 12 years. But they did not, when it came to it, when all these celebrities in California who swore they were going to Canada. That was childish. It's my own opinion. Anyway, not one actually left. They knew it was childish. Because just because you don't personally like who's in office does not mean you're willing to give up being an American citizen over it. Because guess what, guys? Spoiler alert. We are the freest people, obviously, in the world. Right? We have more freedom and possibilities and things offered to us than anywhere else in the world. And just because you personally don't like something, and I wish they hadn't blatantly did it because it made them look very hypocritical. But whatever. Not one of them left. It wasn't worth giving up being an American citizen over. Same thing. 12 years of crap the British colonists will go through because everything they go through, they might whine and complain and moan and B-word and all this stuff about it, and they might fight against it openly, they might fight against it privately, they might try to use peace, they might try to use violence, they might try to fight it separately, they might try to come together to fight it. They're willing to do anything and everything because they're not wanting to give up being a British citizen. Britain was the #1 country on the globe back then. And they didn't want to quit being British. They just wanted to be heard, and they just wanted to get their way. They wanted things to go, they wanted compromise, they wanted to work together, they tried peace, they tried violence, they tried diplomatic measures, they tried personal matters, they tried fighting it separately, together, rebelling, trying to extend an olive branch, because they never wanted to truly leave being British. In fact, when we declare independence, it's not a majority vote, guys. I'm gonna actually at this point post a video clip for you, this says that they talk about unanimity, which basically is the same thing today as being unanimous. To them, unanimity was the majority. It wasn't everybody. It was enough to count. And you will see it's still a very hard vote. It's still not universal. It is not, to us, unanimous. And when we hit the revolution, you see this colony break into thirds with half fighting, like being neutral, half fighting for the British, half fighting for the colonists. This was never easy. But it took 12 years to get to the breaking point because we tried for everything the mother country threw at us, we tried to solve and or fight back in some capacity so that we didn't have to lose our British citizenship, right? It's just not going to work. Nothing we try is going to work. But it all starts due to this financial debt that Britain is in. And if we're not going to willingly hand over our money to pay off this debt, Britain says, fine, screw friggin' you. We're going to take it. So, we'll force you to pay us whether you want to or not, right? So, The Prime Minister of Britain, his name was Richard Grenville, created he was the mastermind behind the first act, the first big tax, and it was called the Navigation Acts. Again, don't forget, for the last 100 years, the colonists have been doing their own business internationally. The mother country has a relationship with France, Spain, I don't know, Germany, Italy, blah, blah, blah. But so do the colonists. The colonists have their own relationship with France, Germany, Italy, etc., Spain. And they've been making a lot of money off of importing and exporting. But, and the other country has become very aware with that. So, the Navigation Acts state that the only business, the only importing and exporting that the colonies are allowed to do from this point on are with the mother country, are with Britain. You want to import and export? The only country that from this point on you can buy and sell to is from the mother country. And if you continue to buy and sell from Italy, Spain, France, blah, 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 Germany, that is called smuggling. And that is treasonous. That is something that can get your butt hung. Because smuggling is illegal. Smuggling from another, at this point is considered treasonous. So you're going to cut off all relations, every freaking business relationship you have with another country, done. Only people that you can import and export to is with the mother country. You don't think people threw a freaking hissy fit? They've been able to do whatever the hell they wanted for over 100 years, and now Britain's imposed this on them? You don't think they jumped up and down, they had freaking hissy fits, and smoke wasn't coming out their ears, and all this crap, and then they take a breath and go, wait. Do you see anybody around here in a red coat that makes sure we enforce this? Do you see anybody who's gonna make us do this? I don't see anybody. Do you see anybody? Because they're by themselves. So all of a sudden it went from, you son of a yeah. Sure. Not a problem. Happy to. They're going to tell the mother country exactly what they want to hear. And just assume the other country is not going to catch on to it. But then continue to do what they want, when they want, how they want, etc., etc. Still do business with other countries. But tell the mother country, absolutely not a problem. We totally understand. Sounds good. Whatever. Right? Mother country is not stupid. Mother country is not stupid at all. So, when there's not a increase in an abundance of income pouring in from the colonies, because they're the only ones that the colonies are allowed to import and export from, right? Britain says, we're not stupid. We realize what's going on here. And this is when you will have the British finally, they wouldn't come over during war, right? Took them 8 years to come over in Queen Anne's War, etc., etc. Never showed up in King George's War for the most part. This is when you have the British come over, and they have the right to legally search your home for smuggled goods. So you're in the colonies, you're living in, I don't know, North Carolina. You go, knock on the door. And you've got a British to open the door, British official in a red coat. He's like, hey, how you doing? How's the family? How's little Solly and Jimmy? They're getting so big. Oh, my goodness. Oh, by the way, I have a search warrant. It's called writs of assistance. I have a writs of assistance to check your home for smuggled goods. Legalized, stamped, official, written, documented. I have a writs of assistance where I can search your home for smuggled good. Move over. And they can come into your home and just, pull up your floorboards, rip open your sofa cushions, damage your property, walk out the door and say, have a nice day. Tell Johnny and Sally I said hi. And are they responsible for any of the damage that they did to your home? But if it's legal, there ain't a dang thing you can do about it, right? And it's so important to know, it's very important to know, and I want to make this very clear from the get-go. The British officials who are corrupt that cause most of the problems are far and few between. We're talking out of the thousands probably about 5%. 5% that ruin it for everybody, right? Because there will be some British officials who are power hungry. They are bitter. They're angry against the colonists. There are two sides to every freaking coin, right? Britain has their opinion. And you have British officials who will take this completely the wrong direction. Per se, you'll get a knock at your door. And you will have a British official in a red coat stand up and say, "Hi, how you doing? What's this? I have a receipt of assistance to check your home for smuggled goods. Move aside." It's a blank piece of paper. No rip. You get the point. Very, very different from this, right? This is legal, this is official, there ain't anything you can do about it. You have someone hold up a blank piece of paper that says, "I have a receipt of assistance to search your home for smuggled goods." Step aside. You can say, "That's a blank piece of paper." And me, wearing then red coat, not black coat, red coat, would say, "Really? Looks like a receipt of assistance to me. I'm the official here." Step aside. And they can come into your home, they can check out, rip open your sofa cushions, they can do whatever the hell they want. But this is illegal. Right? This is illegal. And this is where things are fixing to go from bad to worse pretty quick. It's going to do nothing but continue to tear the divide, tear the relationship, right? And things are fixing to go from bad to worse. But we're about 52 minutes in. We're halfway through. It's a good stopping spot. And I'm going to pause and ... for now. Make sure this uploads to my YouTube channel. And I will shortly post the other half of Chapter 6. And I will see all you guys soon. Thank you for watching.